Well, hello. Thank you for having us at Gatherverse. Thank you, Chris. Thank you to everybody helping this event to happen. And thank you for the amazing people who is here today with us. Thank you, Toby, Santiago, Jesse, Claudia, Marcelo. I'm super proud to have you here. And of course, I know that this conversation will be not only interesting because of the topic, but also because of each one of you and your journeys. How can this be inspiring for many more? Then just to get into the points, because of course this event is giving all the context about Web3 and XR and metaverse. I want to ask each one of you who you are, what do you do, and your general vision or a statement on the topic that we are talking today, the environment of this industry plus Hispanic talent. Then who wants to start? Toby, well, Claudia, please go ahead.
I can do it. Women first. I'm Claudia Aparicio. I'm the managing partner of Singularity University here in Colombia. We're really proud because we lead from Bogota, the digital school for Latin America. So we're in the process of democratizing the access of knowledge and the vision and the ambition of Singularity in this region. I'm not an expert in immersive technologies, but I think what I can bring to the table is the vision about the future of work and the future of education. I've been working on the corporate field like 15 years. I used to work in a telecommunication company, and at that point, I fell in love of technology, and that's why at the end of the day, I ended working at Singularity. I was first an alumni, and then I decided that it is an idea that word spread in the Latin American region. My statement regarding this topic is that maybe it's easy to say that it's not going to happen in Latin America, because we can say we have the bandwidth gap. We don't have 5G in Latin America. It's a quite complicated issue, the Web 3.0 in the region. But I feel optimistic because two main points. First, it's the fact that we have a lot of early adopters in the field of cryptocurrencies. So I think there's a relative big group of people who already believe in those technologies and then can jump easy in the field of metaverse. And secondly, because social networks, as you know, in Latin America are the king. The first step of adoption in the region is social networks. So I suppose this idea of the metaverse might be very sexy for the early adopters and the young generations of Latin America. So I think that the start of the metaverse in Latin America, it's going to come from the creator economy, and also through the idea of the play to earn initiatives such as Axie and that kind of games. For now, that's all my contribution, Rosario. I hope I won't spoke so much.
No, Claudia, thank you. And you are underlining some topics that I will reinforce after the other comments. Who wants to follow? Marcelo, do you want to follow?
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having us, Rosario. Marcelo de Santis, director for the digital transformation practice at ThoughtWorks, originally from Argentina. That's where this accent is coming from, in case you're wondering. Besides ThoughtWorks, I also sit at the board of UNICEF, specifically helping the UNICEF innovation team with many things. One of the things, Claudia, is access to the internet across the world for kids. I also sit at the board of High Tech. I'm a co-founder also of an angel group, which is supporting Latinx founders to build their technology startups here in the US, and very soon expanding into Latin America. What I can contribute here in this conversation, first, I want to learn from all of you, and second, basically, is how do we lead this change, right? How we are not, sitting at the passenger seat with all the people that we have in Gatherverse and all the companies supporting us. I'm sure we can do something big, so I'm looking forward to that kind of conversation.
Thank you, Marcelo. And one thing I love from this group is the variety of backgrounds, but also that each one of the ones who are seated here are people who is contributing to the creation of a community around Hispanic talent, around technology creation, and well, I'm very proud of who you are, but who wants to follow? Jesse, Santiago, who wants to follow?
I'll go.
Please.
Well, first of all, gracias, Rosario, for having us and having me. And thank you also to Gatherverse for this opportunity and for the event that they're putting on. So such an honor. My name is Jesse Martinez. I'm the founder of LatinX Startup Alliance. That is my nonprofit focused on empowering Latino tech founders. We were founded back in 2011 as a meetup group with 6 people, and we've grown organically over the past 10 plus years. And so one of the things that we focus on is really bringing awareness to our Latinx founders, providing access to the tools and resources, and 3, helping them accelerate in the work that they're doing through warm intros, and then also intros to investors. I'm a 4-time founder. I'm an investor wearing 2 hats. And then for me, seeing Internet 1.0, 2.0, and now 3.0, when we talk about Web3, and really focusing on bringing the empowerment back to the creators, right? And so being able to work with them, support them, and then finally being able to support the new generation of Web3 Latinx founders and investors. And so that's my goal here, and being able to create that awareness and ensuring that, to Marcelo's point, is that the train is still at the station. Let's get on the train and move forward on this Web3 destination. Thank you, Rosario.
I love that, Jesse. And I would like to jump into Santiago, because of course, when we are talking about creators, economy, but also makers of technology, well, Santiago's name should be in that list. And Santiago, please.
Thank you, Rosario. Hello, and hello, everybody. Nice to meet everybody, and thank Gatherverse for this opportunity. I'm very honored. I'm Santiago Alfaro. I'm an industrial designer from Colombia. I started as an industrial designer, then I took a couple of steps. I ended up being a research scientist in technology for Intel Corporation. And I've been working mostly on immersive experiences in virtual reality, mixed reality, augmented reality, anything I can get my hands on. I'm not an expert on the other side of this conversation, which is the Web3 and all this sort of stuff, which I guess that's what one of the things that I can bring to this table is precisely get the angle of the person who's not necessarily immersed in it. Like, so we need to understand that we know that the technologies are coming. We know that this Internet 3 is going to be important, but we also need to make it popular. We also need to make it understandable by the general public. And one of the things that I think of is, well, then maybe that's a way where mixed reality can come in. When we're talking about all these technologies that are in essence intangible and ethereal, then how do we make an immersive experience so that people can have a connection with it? And that's something that would be interesting in the future. I can't wait to see what we can come up with.
Thank you, Santiago. Yes, I'm talking about how can we enable these technologies and how we can scale what is happening. We should go to Toby. Toby, Eduardo, please.
Hi, thanks for having me. I am originally born and raised in the coolest, best city in Latin America, which is, of course, El DF in Mexico. Also a fantastic foodie city, not always, but is now. Not so good at football, but otherwise good. So look, I'm super excited about now, sort of in 3 ways, right? I think Web 3.0, metaverse, very poorly defined, just being born or going to grow in different ways. There's going to be argument and conflict. And I think that's the perfect time for creators and innovators and builders and people that aren't necessarily married to the old world, right? And I think Latin America has a gigantic advantage that way, and also Latinos in inside America. I also think it's a perfect time to start rethinking about talent, right? We seem to often center in on interviews and choices and promotions, and I think that's backwards, right? I think we should look at talent in terms of execution and what gets done, and that's about teams and engagement and partnering and coaching and mentoring and supporting and graduating, right? Which I think is a very different lens. There's been some very, very cool things happen in that space in Mexico and northern Mexico, Central Fox, and some other things where I think there's some real real opportunities. And then to Santiago's point, I am really excited about immersive, participative audience engagement, right? Where you can get lots of people connected. I'm working with one pseudo startup now where we honestly think we're going to redefine education. And the cool thing about this time and the meta 3.0 thing of this is it does not respect geographic boundaries, right? In all of our countries, and especially in the US, where you have these terrible geographic disenfranchisements, where within this zone, your healthcare, your food security, your education is worse, which is terrible for a national economy, whether that's, you know, Chiapas or New Jersey. This kind of technology doesn't recognize those barriers and goes wherever you want, right? And I think to an earlier comment that requires telecommunications, but I think we have enough of that. So this whole soup, really exciting to me and what it could be.
Thank you, Toby, for sure. No, and you are mentioning a lot of topics like, well, I will give a number for the audience who is not Hispanic informed. If we gather US Hispanics, we are like the 7th economy of the world in economic power by GDP. Then if we can add Latin America also, and the growing economies like Colombia, for sure, we have a phenomenal power, the possibility to create bigger economies. And then how do you see the opportunities that, I mean, just taking from what Toby was mentioning, how do you see the opportunities that we can take as a community of Latinos and Hispanic people, but also how do you see the non-Latinos and the non-Hispanics should engage with Latinos and Hispanics, because that's a good business? What do you think?
I can share my couple of thoughts, Rosario. You know, I'm very pragmatic in the approach to opportunities around Web3. I think on one side, you know, many of us said that, you know, Web3 brings this benefit of increased inclusivity, all right? Because person's location or gender or personal circumstances, you know, are less important than the real skills of the individual. So the opportunity for organizations, for companies, for governments, is have an easier access to these talent pools that, you know, maybe previously were underrepresented. I think that's a clear benefit of Wave 3. But still, I mean, and this is where the pragmatic Marcelo comes to play. Still, individuals need to have the right skills to succeed in the metaverse, right? And many of the skills that we require will be tech-related skills. So what does it mean for Hispanics? When you look at the statistics here in the US, and I can guarantee almost there might be very similar numbers for our countries in Latin America, despite being 17% of the US population or the workforce, Rosario and team, we only represent 8% of the STEM workers, right? So there is a big gap there. And so the opportunities for us are how do we equip more Hispanics and other minorities, doesn't have to be only Hispanics, with the right skills for Web3. And how do we provide also with the right access to internet and the hardware needed to actually access the metaverse, because these are barriers of entry that exist today, right? Independently even of the existence of the metaverse, these are issues that we need to solve right here, right now. So that's a pragmatic Marcelo, when I say I would like to take action on the problems of today, so we are better ready for the tomorrow of Web3.
Thank you, Marcelo. And I love that pragmatic vision, because that's the only way to start making action plans. Who wants to add there? Santiago.
Well, so yeah, as I see how you were saying, like there's the issue of the talent that we have, and then the issue of the technology that we need. And in my experience with Latin America, like Latin America has been always really good at leapfrogging, and we're really good at understanding what is the current technology, what's going to come after that, and then we don't have to go in the same order. We can just leapfrog and go to the technology that we might start. So then the talent, we know the talent exists. Education, it's going to be a harder thing, and that's I think where Claudia can also give us some insight in there. From what I see, which is more from the US side looking towards Latin America, there is a lot of interest that I've noticed. There's a lot of virtual reality conferences that are starting to try to have their venue in Latin America, to attract the Latin American talent, to see maybe most of the papers that get submitted. They are usually from Mexico, they are usually from Colombia, there's from other, but how can we get more research to like come to the world stage and just explode, and then people around the world can actually understand that there's a lot of research, there's a lot of time, there's a lot of thought process happening in Latin America. And I think that is a good opportunity that we need to start to understand, is how we can break through the talent and show it in a world stage.
Santiago, yes, and also the access to the equipments and the hardware, because if I don't have the hardware where to test, or the access to the software where to develop, well, for sure there is a huge limitation to start creating. But
right, and then on the strict industrial designer hat, there's a barrier that in general as hardware and technology, but there's also an inherent problem with the technologies that the hardware that we usually talk about for virtual reality and for mixed reality is a cumbersome, heavy, gigantic thing on your face, and that is a problem that needs to be addressed and could be addressed directly from Latin America. Nothing says that technology research has to be done in the US, and that's a technology research that we could start anywhere. And I've started working with a startup called Respira Labs, also from Colombians, all Colombian friends. And in seeing how they are recruiting from Colombia, it's incredibly clear that in Colombia, we have a pool for augmented reality, we have a pool for machine learning, we have a pool for all these new technologies that people don't assume or don't necessarily immediately connect to Latin America, but the talent is there, and we just need to push it forward.
Keep going, please.
So I absolutely agree with that, right? I think one of the biggest things we've got to do is change the perceptions, right? I moved a bunch of tech work to Santiago de Chile, Buenos Aires, Sao Paulo, and Mexico City in 1998 out of FedEx. And it was like, you're moving technical work to Latin America? Have you ever been down there? Are you nuts? Are you crazy? And this is, then what's that, 24 years ago? After a year, the debate was, is it 2 times better or 3 times better than what it was when we had it in Tampa or Idaho or wherever the heck we had that stuff? And that was a perception thing that was then, and it's still now, right? And people aren't aware of the great folks coming out of universities. People aren't aware of the ecosystems down there. And I think there's a really good symbiotic, virtually same time zone, culturally very close, of having a two-way relationship between large companies here and industrious, creative, next-gen stuff out of Latin America. I don't think you solve this by talking about it. I think you solve it by shining lights on examples of really cool stuff.
Yes, thank you. I completely agree. And Claudia, education there, how do you see the things?
I'm trying to connect the dots, and I want to join Marcelo with his pessimistic or realistic perception, because, you know, I mean, of course, we have amazing talent in tech all around the big ecosystems. Maybe the challenge we have is how to connect the dots between the Latin Americans in those hubs with the Latin Americans outside those hubs. I think the phenomenon we are living right now with the edtechs, for instance, in Latin America, such as UBITS or Platzi, it's related with the idea that actually young people is aware that they can get an amazing job following the paths of technology. So what we need to do is connect those dots around the idea that they can give them a better perspective of life. And this is something that we already have because we have those edtechs. So we really have right now communities around tech skills. And but right now we need to invest a lot around the Web3, because if you go there and you go to find, for instance, a blockchain developer, we haven't. It's pretty hard to find someone in Latin America focused on that field. So I think right now we have the attention of everyone. If you ask whoever in our countries, the importance of STEM education, it's a reality. We're aware about that. But now we need to connect the dots, as I mentioned before, between the LatinX community who have those amazing skills with the rest of the community. And I think also I have seen some specific projects in Latin America. It came to my mind a project led by Ilana Milquez, which is an amazing entrepreneur in Colombia, and she's leading an NFT strategy focusing make visible the animals, the Amazonas and everything around us using the NFTs. So I think if we want to connect people from their heart to the idea of the good of having these initiatives, we need to think about those things we have, we can bring to the world.
Thank you, Claudia. Yes, Jesse.
Yes, you know, talking about all this just makes me excited because we think about global collaboration. You know, I've been in San Francisco, Silicon Valley since '97, right? And so we were always the hub to come to when working on a tech startup or where we wanted to become an investor. And, you know, with the pandemic, you know, we've seen the distribution of talent and resources, and then more importantly, capital. And then if we think about the number of investment dollars going into Latin America and the number of unicorns, you know, it is an emerging market. It took some time if I reflect back on, you know, the 10 years of work that we've been doing. But finally, you know, we're seeing those resources, we're seeing that capital, and we're getting that attention that we've been deserving for a long time. And so when we think about the resources, the startups, and the capital, is like, how do we continue to connect those dots and bring people together? And especially when we talk between, you know, connecting the US and Latam and being able to foster that mindset where we are in a global economy, and that as we move out of pandemic, that we continue that momentum forward as one.
Thank you. No, I am so sorry that we only have 30 minutes to talk with this group. Then for sure we can keep the conversation going after this on social networks. And this is a promise that this group will be available through social networks to keep the conversation. But before closing, I would like to ask you about the opportunities, the big opportunities that you see, and actionable insights that you want to give before closing the panel? Who wants to start? Toby, please.
I'll go. Look, I think there's one thing we also need to fold into here that motivates people a little bit, and I think it's a little bit of fear, right? If you look at the 4 biggest Latino density states in America, which all ironically have Spanish names, the Latino population is a third of those population, that population. It's also the fastest growing. But if you looked at it from a growth of disposable income, it's a steep curve like that. So you should be afraid if you aren't representing that group and you aren't listening to that group and you aren't selling to that group, because that is just financially in your best interest. So that little bit of fear of this vibrant, multifaceted community that you're kind of ignoring, you're ignoring something that's going to kill your company if you don't pay attention over time. And I think you don't anchor it in fear, but just a little bit of fear helps.
Thank you, Toby. I love that. Well, I know was what moved me to start coding. And after some years in technology, I can call myself a technical founder, even when I'm not really an engineer or have a formal education in technology. Well, who wants to add there? No, thank you. You know, many of you are my inspiration. Then go, Marcelo, please.
No, yeah, I just wanted to add something. I got inspired what Jesse said before, right? I mean, was an opportunity for us, right? And going back to let's lead this change. Let's do not be in the passenger seat, right? Jesse said something very important. Last year, Latin America got around, if I remember well the statistics, $15 billion from venture capital firms. The 15 billion is the total of funding that Latin America got in the previous 6 years combined. So just look at that, that's data, right? So if you put that with all the startups that you mentioned, right? I mean, if I remember well, Colombia, you have Rappi, you have Mercado Libre in Argentina, you have Kavak in Mexico, right? Big startups, unicorns. If we invest in the next generation of entrepreneurs in Latin America and help them to build the new Web3 companies, we will start to lead versus being just, you know, the ones that do the work, right? We will create companies and we will create sources of labor for many, many people in our countries, and why not across the globe. So that's, you know, that's the, I'm not pessimistic, but to Claudia's point, I'm extremely optimistic. Now, I'm very pragmatic on how to drive action, because I think the time is now. We cannot continue to talk too much. We need to move to action quickly.
Completely agree. And I also, if nobody knows, or if somebody don't know Latinos and Hispanos in technology, please follow Jesse Martinez show, because that's an amazing way to know who is who building technology. Then who wants to add there?
So I wanted to add just then a small thing that also just occurred to me with the conversation, how we were talking about the barriers. So like there's the technology barrier, there's the economic barrier, there's how to democratize all the thing. There's also a social barrier that comes in, is that the people who don't have the technology to participate in this in these technologies, they don't see their fellow Latinos actually being able to push this forward. So once we get enough of a internet connection, enough of technology in the remote areas that we need to get it, then we're gonna get all these kids seeing like, oh wait, that guy's Colombian and he's doing all this, and this guy's Mexican and he's doing all this. So then like, and that's the social barrier that it will just come down on its own if we actually manage to democratize everything properly.
That's a good thing. Thank you, Santiago. Claudia, please. Jesse, Claudia, who wants to?
Adding to the point to Santiago, I think we miss one piece of the puzzle, that is the celebrities, because as I mentioned at the beginning, we are socializers. I think the whole region is followed by the idea of emotions. And it's for sure that there's a lot of celebrities that are going to build their next stage of their popularity and personality through the metaverse. So I think we should also take advantage of them, not only the geek side, but also the celebrities, because it's a way to connect people with things that they already know and the people they already follow as well.
Yes, please.
Yes, I just wanted to follow what Santiago said, and it's so important for us to pay it forward. So as we, create success stories and we help champion others, make sure that we pay it forward, right? And especially, make that part of our mission. I know that as Latinos, we think about giving, about supporting our fellow Latino communities. So as we start to see these exits, right, we know firsthand that we're going to hire diverse talent, that we're going to support diverse talent, and that we're going to give back to our communities. So I think that's really important to highlight. The second piece, as a founder and as a risk taker, right? It's let's champion those startups that we have, Web3 startups founded by LatinX founders here in the U.S., right? And to help create those success stories, those use cases, so that others will follow, right? And again, just start jumpstarting that ecosystem that we're currently in today. And so for those that want to reach out, please reach out. Happy to connect with you. And also ensuring that we bring awareness to those Latinx Web3 startups.
Jesse. Marcelo, do you want to close the conversation?
Oh my God, that's a lot of responsibility. Well, look, I was looking at the website of Gatherverse, and as I said at the beginning, there are thousands of people listening to this conversation. And hopefully at the end, after, if each person attending brings one idea and we get 1% of those ideas synthesized, and we can actually find 3 areas in where we can change the trajectory of this conversation, not only for Hispanics, but also for humanity. I think there might be a manifesto coming from all these conversations, something that we can all align to, and individually and collectively move those outcomes forward. So, that's the invitation to each and all of us to drive action, meaningful action. So the metaverse is a place in where we can be at our best.
I love that. Thank you, Marcelo. And thank you, everybody. I know this will be like a 2 hours conversation at least. But thank you for your insights. Thank you for being here today. And for everybody who is seeing the conference and this specific panel, please follow each one of the people who is participating here, because the only way to build a better Gatherverse is connecting with each other, celebrating accomplishments. And thank you again. I don't know if each one of you want to close with one last phrase, very quick, just to wrap up. Yes.
Thank you, Rosario. Thank you, Gatherverse. And we'll see you in the metaverse.
Toby.
Mexico, Mexico, ra, ra, ra.
Claudia.
No, I think it's a great opportunity for inclusion. I didn't mention that according to the report of Microsoft about the future of work, they mentioned that Latinos are those who want to stay at home, which is incredible because they become invisible in the pandemic. So this is something it came to my mind that I want to remind that being in the US, it might be a big goal for employees and companies.
Claudia. Marcelo, Santiago, last word.
Just, I don't know, muchas gracias. Thank you very much. This is a great panel that I'm just very excited to see what's going to happen. The more people we can touch, the more people we can inspire, the better we're going to be in the end altogether.
Completely true. Thank you and have a good afternoon.